Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Transpicuous News on April Fool's Day. I'm not sure who the joke's on today, but there's some kind of interesting stuff that we're going to talk about. Now, I have a story I want to get to from today, but we're going to backtrack a little bit to a couple of things that were brought up earlier this week for a little bit of transparency, a little bit of in-your-face, let's really look at this closely. So I'm going to pull you up. Share my screen. Here we go. The big story. In Syria, militias armed by the Pentagon are fighting those armed by the CIA. This is the Los Angeles Times, and this went kind of viral. And there was a lot of alternative media, a lot of mainstream media covered this story. So you get, your whole thing of like, oh, it's the Pentagon is fighting against the CIA and all this kind of stuff. But there's a subtle, it's not our fault that plays out through the whole wording of this. Like this, there's very much an agenda in these articles. But there's some interesting stuff said. Syrian militias armed by different parts of the U.S. war machine have begun to fight each other on the plains between the besieged city of Aleppo and the Turkish border. Oh yeah, did I tell you we're going to be talking about Turkey today? Yeah, we'll get right there. Highlighting how little control U.S. intelligence officers and military planners have over the groups they have financed, trained in the bitter 5-year-old civil war. So first of all, first paragraph, let's take the pressure off them because, the CIA and the Pentagon, supposedly the world's most powerful black ops and the world's most powerful military, they just have no control over anything. It's just terrible for them. They just can't control jack shit, apparently. The fighting has intensified over the last 2 months as CIA armed units and Pentagon armed units have repeatedly shot at each other while maneuvering through contested territory on the outskirts of northern Aleppo. Now, it gets good. And we're going to visit a couple of little parts in here. The attacks by one U.S.-backed group against another come amid continued heavy fighting in Syria and illustrate the difficulty facing the U.S. efforts to coordinate among dozens of armed groups. Keep that in mind, dozens, and they're trying to coordinate them all. They're having such a hard time. That are trying to overthrow the government of President Bashar al-Assad. Right there, black and white, groups trying to overthrow the president, fight the Islamic State militant group, and battle one another all at the same time. Now, you get into all the stuff that's going on here. This is a complicated, multi-sided war where our options are severely limited, said a U.S. official, of course, who didn't want to be named publicly. We know we need a partner on the ground. We can't defeat ISIL without a part of the equation, so we just keep trying to forge those relationships. Yeah, and we know how well that's going for them, just like it did in Afghanistan and everywhere else they've tried to play this game. Right. So this is basically the article is pointing out what we already know. But they're trying to spin doctor it. It's like, oh, the poor Americans, they just can't seem to get it organized. And these groups, they're out of control. It's like dealing with a bunch of chocolatified, highly caffeinated 5-year-olds who are having temper tantrums. That's right. That's what it's like. And the Pentagon and the CIA can't handle it. Now, the best article of all of them had to have been the one on Zero Hedge, Full Metal Retard Part 2, CIA-backed rebels now at war with the Pentagon armed fighters in Syria's Aleppo. There's a couple little pieces in here because, of course, this goes back to everything we've been talking about for the last year, right? Last May, let's go back and review. Last May, U.S. Central Command issued a hilariously absurd press release outlining what was quite obviously going to be a disastrous effort to arm rebel fighters. And you remember they spent that $500 million to arm those Syrian moderate rebels who then turned around and up and left. This guy is one of the heads of their trainers who is switched sides now fights with al-Nusra, and al-Nusra, those guys back in September who took all of the trained rebels, took all their toys away and left them stranded with no toys to play with. So, and you also remember that in August, it was suggested that perhaps the Pentagon should be working with Al-Qaeda which didn't go over very well, even within the American military. So they just had a bunch of oopses right after that. Well, we airdropped supplies to our rebels, and somehow Al-Qaeda got them. Yeah, because that's what happens. Let me just go down here a bit. Here we go. As the LA Times reports, the Pentagon armed Kurdish units. This is important. So these are different fighters from those involved in the train and equipped, are now engaging in firefights with the CIA armed forces in what is surely the most ridiculous example of U.S. strategy gone horribly and hilarious awry to date. Syrian militias armed by different parts of the U.S. war machine have begun to fight each other. Well, let's talk about the Kurds here, because this is an important piece. Back earlier this year, when the U.S. decided that they were going to announce that they'd created the Syrian Democratic Forces, which don't actually exist. It's just an American title that they've kind of made to talk about the forces that they've put together on the ground, but they tried to make it sound official. Didn't really work. Yeah, so there's no such thing as the SDF. The U.S. was looking for a way to arm the YPG. The YPG. YPG are Kurdish forces who, by all accounts, have done a pretty fucking good job of taking back a whole lot of Syria for the Syrians. Of course, it's not without complete ridiculousness that we're talking now about the fact that we've got the YPG. So the U.S. drops 50 tons of ammo to the YPG, the Kurdish militias, who, by the way, are also working with the PKK, which is the ones that Erdogan really hates. And Erdogan was bombing back in last summer. Well, now Erdogan's now bombing the YPG. Wait a second. The U.S. is arming the YPG, Kurdish forces, who are not by themselves, by the way. Oh, no, there's actually quite a few people fighting with the YPG, like hundreds of foreign volunteers who, from the US, Canada, Australia, Europe, Turkey, are volunteering with the YPG. And now Turkey is bombing them, even though the US is arming them to fight ISIS, but Turkey's bombing them. Yeah, it's kind of convoluted and kind of a hell of a lot confusing. So here we go. We're going to skip over to here. And we're going to just take a little talk. Here's our excuses, right? So the US military and the CIA are trying to already set the stage, so their excuses are ready. They're out there publicly. Now we're going to go take a look over here. You may remember a few weeks ago, not even a few weeks ago, maybe just a week ago, RT sent a team, a documentary team, into Syria to just really go around and gather some evidence. And apparently these guys gathered some seriously fucking good evidence, i.e. they met up with a lot of the Kurdish groups and the pro-Syrian government groups who've been fighting on the ground there, who aren't very dumb. Turns out they've been collecting and amassing a massive amount of information and evidence against ISIS and the Turkish, among others, with proof, documented proof that ISIS has been selling the oil that they stole from Syria to Turkey. And, also proof that they are funneling all these antiquities, all the antiquities that they've been stealing, ISIS, because remember, we talked about this last year, about apparently they're also amateur archaeologists, because they go into places and they have whole digs and they dig up treasures, which then get funneled through Turkey and get sold off on the black market. So there's some big ass fingers pointing at Turkey right now. A couple of these comments I just wanted to share with you. Some of the more up-to-date ones. March 31st, European MP and Deputy Leader of Britain's UKIP party, Paul Nuttall, said that the erratic behavior of Ankara is a source of increasing concerns. There's an understatement. This ISIS trafficking of stolen relics through Turkey is not the first time they have turned a blind eye to fundraising activities by ISIS. Serious accusations have been levied at Turkey, and these questions must be answered. This is yet a further damnation for UK Prime Minister David Cameron's dream of Turkey joining the EU. Let's make the sensible choice and leave the EU while we still can. That coming out of the UK. the almost eve of their referendum, which we all know is going to be totally hacked and set up. We all know it doesn't actually mean jack shit. We have comments out of Italy, Cyprus, ministers of the European Parliament who are like, we'd like some answers from Turkey. Yeah, we'd like some big ass fucking answers from Turkey. Assad. And apparently the chickens want some answers from Turkey too, which is funny in and of itself. Assad is not very pleased about any of this. Some of his statements yesterday, Assad says Erdogan's army of terrorists are fighting in Syria. He comes on and he says that Turkey's direct support for the terrorists fighting in Syria makes them President Erdogan's own army. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said in an exclusive interview with Sputnik, Turkey as well as Saudi Arabia have crossed all possible red lines, possibly from the first weeks of the Syrian war, which is also a very interesting allegation. Today, the war against Erdogan and against Saudi Arabia is a war against terrorists. The Turkish army, which is not even Turkish, is Erdogan's army that is fighting today in Syria. Everything that Ankara and Riyadh have done from the very beginning can be considered aggression. Aggression in a political sense or in a military sense, providing terrorists with arms, or direct aggression with the use of artillery and other military violations. And that, my friends, is what you call a pretty fucking seriously worded recrimination. Let's move forward, shall we? Now, I posted this out on Facebook because I love this kind of shit and it makes me laugh my ass off. German group last week put together a satirical video about Erdogan. And Erdogan apparently got his knickers in a twist, had a complete temper tantrum, and demanded that Germany, the government, remove this video. In which case, the German government said, hell no. And the creators of the video then took the video down and put English subtitles to it, just to make sure everyone could understand it. And then, I guess about 2 days ago, Erdogan had another freaking temper tantrum. And they decided, well, that wasn't good enough. So the creators took it down again, and they added Turkish subtitles to it too, just to make sure that most people around could really get the full meaning of their video. Didn't go over very well. European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker has criticized Ankara's reaction to the satirical clip about the president, saying the EU chief does not approve of Ankara's decision to summon Germany's envoy just over a satirical song. He believes this moves Turkey away from the EU rather than brings it closer to us. And I bet you there's a lot of people in the EU right now going, oh goodness, everyone else can see his insanity now. Awesome, we don't have to worry about it so much. Then we have today. Today, what I didn't know, and apparently I don't think very many people did, is Erdogan is in the US. Yeah, and he was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. He was supposed to speak at the Brookings Club. Sorry, guys, I've got that wrong. It's the Brookings Institute, sorry. And Brookings Institute is just another fancy word of saying eugenics, basically. His security team, his personal security team, got a little physical and basically started physically accosting protesters, and apparently even had a couple of altercations with the Washington police when the Washington police came in to defend the protesters against Erdogan's security guards. You can't make this shit up. Like, I was just literally jaw on the floor going, his security people were physically accosting protesters, American protesters, on American soil? What? Well, it turns out the protesters were for Amnesty International. So I'm sure that's not going to go over very well for Turkey either. But, I mean, this is crazy shit. I got to show you this one little video clip here. Is this it? Hold on, guys. Just give me a second. I've got to find the one right little clip. Oh, hold on. Come on. Is that it? Not sure. Oh, here we go. This shows them. No, this is not the one. Hold on, guys. There's a clip. I hope they haven't removed it. I really hope they haven't removed it. They have. Guys, in the time it's taken me to put the show together, maybe a half an hour, the video clip that was in here has been removed. And the clip shows, Lisa's sitting next to me, so she can ID this one, a guy holding his hands up on either side of the door, trying to stop the security guard from pushing him out, and the security guard smashing down on the guy's arms to make his arms drop, and he pushes him out the door. You know, like, that's physical assault. And it's gone. The video is fucking gone. Isn't that interesting? In a matter of maybe an hour, tops. Now, what's even more interesting is there's no coverage of this. Oh, Business Insider Australia, but not Business Insider US. There's nothing on CNN. There was a little clip out on Yahoo News that really kind of tried to downplay the whole thing. Yeah, not much news there. Oh, wait, here we go, guys. I managed to find the other clip. Here it is. Here's the clip. Let me see if I can get it to play. This guy, you see him hit the guy's arms. Let's watch it again. Here we go. Oh, physical assault right there. Oh, this is so going to bite them in the fucking ass. It's hysterical. But here's the thing, folks. All the insanity that we're seeing, the stuff with Turkey, Erdogan is literally insane now. I mean, his rumors from within his own government of the fact that he is so unbelievably over the top that he now wants to put anti-missile trucks around his palace just to stop them because he's convinced the guys in the black suits are going to come and helicopter down and come and kidnap him. Okay. But we wanted transparency. And this shit with Turkey, the way shit is playing out with Turkey right now, U.S. dealings with Turkey, Israel's dealings with Turkey. Oh, did I mention the U.S. has pulled back all family of personnel in Turkey? All U.S. military and consulate families, they've pulled out all the family members. And Israel has recalled, and I like this, Israel has recalled all of their embassy staff, etc., out of Turkey because they've been given they've been told that there's going to be a threat against Israeli children in Turkey. Yeah, because we believe that. Tell us another one, dude. Anyways, that is it for today's Transpicuous News. A little look at the turkeys in Turkey. The guy who puts the turkey in Turkey, Erdogan. Yeah, let me tell you. It's going to be interesting to watch how the international groups in all these countries are going to treat this because the evidence against them is pretty freaking damning. And yet they still want to be part of the EU. And they're still supposed to be part of NATO, even though they're firing on U.S. trained troops in Syria. It gets interesting. I'll be back. Might even be later on today. I'm kind of tracking something else down. Going back to those Temple of Baal, the Arches of Baal. And I just keep digging, folks, because there's just no such thing as a coincidence. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.